afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another noon conference presentation by Dr. Chahal today. She will be presenting chronic progressive external ophthalmoplegia. She is from Government Medical College, Chandigarh, India, aspiring to become either a psychiatrist or a neurologist. We wish her all the best in her research and residency endeavors. Thank you, Dr. Chahal.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. My name is Dr. Meher Jain. Like Dr. Khan just explained, I'll be presenting CPEO, which also known as chronic progressive external ophthalmoplegia. It is defined as mainly the loss of muscle functions involved in the eye and the eyelid movement. It can occur itself as a disease entity or as a part of a more severe multi-system disease process, which is called the CPO plus phenotype, which involves weakness of other muscles in the body. The epidemiology, the minimum prevalence was estimated to be 3.39 per 100,000 inhabitants, which means about 1 in 30,000 of the general population. Presentation, the signs and symptoms usually begin in early adulthood, ranging from about 18 years to 40 years. This is the age limit which the people usually present in. It usually starts, ptosis is not only the most common symptom, but also the presenting symptom, with people feeling like their eyelids are drooping. As the ptosis worsens, the individuals may use the forehead muscles to try to lift the eyelids or make turn up their chin to see, in order to see better. And this is called exercise intolerance. The weakness worsens with exertion. So after, maybe at the end of the day, people might feel like the weakness or the ptosis, the drooping of the eyelids is worsening. It can also fall in a spectrum of progressive external ophthalmoplegia plus, PEO plus, which is going to involve other parts of the body, other systems, which includes hearing loss caused by nerve damage in the inner ear, which is sensory neural hearing loss, weakness and loss of sensations in the limbs due to nerve damage, neuropathy, impaired muscle coordination, ataxia, and a pattern of movement abnormalities, which can also include Parkinsonism or depression. The etiopathogenesis is not well understood, but what is known till now is that it can be caused in mutation in several genes, which might be located in the nuclear or the mitochondrial DNA. It is usually mitochondrially inherited, which means it's maternally transmitted, but also autosomal and autosomal recessive genes have been seen depending on the gene which is mutated. Mutations usually lead to deletions in large segments of mitochondrial DNA in muscle cells. That's why we see weakness in the eye muscles. Most commonly involved nuclear genes will be PO, LG, TEWNK, RRM2P, or SLC25A4. Coming to the diagnosis, PEO is definitely, the definitive diagnosis will be on muscle biopsy, which will, on examination of the muscle fibers on Gamori trichome stain, will show the ragged red fibers, which can be seen over here. This is actually showing the accumulation of enlarged mitochondria, and it will stain dark red as in cells. Imaging, when you go to an ophthalmology consult, when they do imaging, and they use optic coherence tomography, may show reduced thickness of the outer retinal layer and macular central fovea, as well as reduced volume of the optic nerve head and rim. Differential diagnosis, it is not to be confused with myasthenia gravis, which can also show exercise intolerance and fatigue, which is exacerbated by the end of the day, or by muscle use and the patient feeling more tired and fatigued. Myasthenia gravis will obviously have antibodies positive for myasthenia, or it can be associated with a thymoma, so it can be ruled out with appropriate investigations and imaging. Then there is cranial nerve 3 palsy, external meaning that it spares the pupil, and the ciliary muscles will be spared in this, so that can help us differentiate from cranial nerve 3 palsy. Then botulism. Botulism, being an infectious etiology, it will give a more acute presentation as opposed to CPEO, which is chronic over months and years. Then there is progressive supranuclear palsy. So an important part is that usually in supranuclear palsy, the upward gaze is affected. But in this, you do not have the upward gaze being affected as much. Then there is thyroid-associated ophthalmopathy, which can be ruled out by doing simple blood work and seeing patients' thyroid and TSH levels and other manifestations of thyroid disease like Graves' disease and other associated thyroid myopathies. Then another important differential is Kearns-Chiari syndrome. This is basically can include CPEO, but the main factor is that this extends from CPEO to other factors, like this will present before 15 years of age with CPEO as well as pigmented retinopathy and cardiac defects. So we are going to have multi-system involvement, which will help us, and the earlier age of presentation will help us seclude and differentiate simple CPEO from this syndrome. Management. There is obviously no definitive management to treat this genetically inherited disease or to completely eradicate or that. So that is why we manage it, the symptomology by symptomatic management of the ptosis with surgical correction or using glasses, which is also known as the ptosis crutch, to lift the upper eyelids. Strabismus surgery can help in carefully selected patients if diplopia or double vision is occurring. Ptosis caused by this can be corrected by using glasses or strabismus surgery. And also another important feature is that in CPEO, in many research, it has been found that there is a deficiency of coenzyme Q10, and this supplement might help in a selected population to symptomatically manage CPEO. But